Coming up on today's show, could the Lakers trade Russell Westbrook for John Wall? There's a juicy rumor out there that we'll get to. And also, Stephen A. Smith believes that if the Lakers continue to struggle, Frank Vogel could be on his way out. But first, Lakers Report videos have been popping off, and we're less than 500 people away from 40,000 subscribers. So if you want to join the Laker Nation party here at Chat Sports, hit that red subscribe button down below for more weekly videos. And let's get today's show started. All right, welcome into the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. I hope all of your weeks are off to a fantastic start. What are we diving into on today's show? A very intriguing trade rumor thrown out there by Bill Simmons as well as Haralabob. We'll get to that here in just a few moments, but let's get you caught up on the Lakers' latest trade rumors, and they all center around Russell Westbrook. So right now, Los Angeles off to a very frustrating start, 12-12 to begin the season. Russell Westbrook has really been up and down as this experiment has really been somewhat maddening and frustrating for Laker Nation. I think the Lakers roster right now is flawed. That is my opinion, and I'm not sure this Lakers team can win a championship. I think they're old. I think they're slow. I don't think these pieces fit together, and my opinions have really changed about the Lakers because in free agency, I had applauded them for what they were able to do, kind of constructing this roster around LeBron James. I just don't think they're good enough on both ends of the floor. They're not an efficient offense, and defensively, they have been picked apart. And former Dallas Mavericks executive Haralabob Vulgaris did not rule out a Russell Westbrook trade to the Houston Rockets. It would be a return to H-Town for him, which would bring back John Wall, who has yet to play a game for the Houston Rockets this year. So we'll get you caught up on the back and forth between Bill Simmons as well as Haralabob Vulgaris. Simmons had said this: the Los Angeles Lakers have limited options if they opt to move on from Russell Westbrook. I'm giving you the only team, basically the Minnesota Timberwolves, as a team that can bring in Russell Westbrook, and it might make sense. But basically what Bill Simmons said is, I'm not ruling out a John Wall for Russell Westbrook trade, and Haralabob was in agreement on that. He said this: I mean, never underestimate, the Lakers' ability to make a trade that people think no one else would make. They're definitely the team that does that. They make it happen. And as we know, the Los Angeles Lakers have always been a very aggressive organization. And if they look at this roster and they canvass the NBA landscape and think that John Wall could be a better addition and component to this team than Russell Westbrook, I am not ruling out a Russell Westbrook for John Wall trade. So if you had to pick one for the current construction of this team, who would you go with? Type RW for Russell Westbrook, JW for John Wall. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down to get your votes in, and by the time you do that, we'll be back breaking this down. I really think Russell Westbrook and John Wall at this part of their respective careers are pretty similar players. They're uber athletic. They're quick twitch players who really are exasperating going up and down the floor. Very exciting players to watch because they can be great game breakers, and they have similar career trajectories. And as we're about to show you here in a few moments, their contracts also very identical, and they're very close in age as well. As for what Russ has been able to do this year in the purple and gold, look, the numbers have never been the problem with Russell Westbrook. It's really always the consistency because you don't know what you're getting night in and night out, and it's also the efficiency with Russell Westbrook. He has always been a stat maven and a stat machine, and this year it's no different. 20 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 8 dimes, but he's shooting around 45.5% from the floor. And as I mentioned, John Wall has not played for the Houston Rockets this year. Houston, with Coach Stephen Silas electing to go with a younger lineup as they continue their rebuilding process. That's why a lot of their veterans have barely played at all, if at all. But John Wall, last year, coming off a couple of injury-plagued seasons, I thought he was pretty good for Houston. He was the relied-upon offensive go-to guy, and he really rose up to the occasion to play pretty well coming off that torn Achilles and some of the other injuries that he has suffered. And really, he got off to a marvelous season and really career, I should say, with the Washington Wizards. And then those injuries really zapped him of his production, his availability, but as I saw last year, not really his athleticism. He still has some of the athletic quickness and the athletic components to his game that makes Russell Westbrook such an exciting player to watch. Wall last year, 20.5 points, around 7 assists. He only shot around 40% from the floor, and he's never really been a good three-point shooter. That's why I say Russell Westbrook, John Wall, very, very similar players. So too are their contracts, and that is why a trade, if it did happen, would be able to work financially. Russell Westbrook this year making a little more than $42 million. Next year, that goes up to $47 million. Then in 2023, at the age of 34 years old, that's when he hits the open market to be an unrestricted free agent. Both Russell Westbrook and John Wall, for what they give you and the maddening style in which they play with, in my opinion, two of the worst contracts in the NBA. I think John Wall's might be a little bit worse than Russell Westbrook's. This year on the books for a base salary of $42.3 million. Like Russell Westbrook, it jumps up next year to 47 plus. And then in 2023, he, like Russ, once again a free agent, but John Wall, 33 years old. I think the Lakers, they certainly need a change. I think this is a flawed basketball team. I think they're way too old. I think they're a little bit sluggish defensively. They really struggle defending teams that have flamethrowers from beyond the arc. They can't get out and really elite guard the three-point perimeter, and they've been thrashed defensively on that end of the floor. Then offensively, it really is just so clunky outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis. I don't know if these pieces are all too complementary, but I'm not sure this is the change. And this is the specific trade and the exact maneuver that would make the Lakers a better team and get them up there with the likes of the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns, because right now the Lakers are not even close. So would you trade Russ for John Wall? Your opportunity to let me know. And if you don't agree with this trade proposal, you can say, Chat Sports Chase Sr., you're a fraud. Either way, type T for trade, type P for pass. Let me know right now in the comment section. Now, Hanukkah might be over, but Christmas is right around the corner, and it's the holiday season. It's never too early to do some holiday shopping, and it's never too late either. And it's the perfect opportunity to get 50% off of this Lakers hoodie. It was $70. Now it's on sale for $35. Only if you use that link down below. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics, today's presenting sponsor of the Lakers Report. Use that link so that Fanatics knows that Chat Sports sent you, and so that you get 50% off on this fresh hoodie. Next up on the show, is Frank Vogel on the hot seat? So many Laker fans have been sliding in my DMs saying, Chase, I think it's time for the Lakers to fire Frank Vogel. Chase, it's just not good enough right now. Frank Vogel is to blame. He hasn't been able to put this roster together, and maybe he's the reason why the Lakers are off to this confounding 500 start. Stephen A. Smith getting the rumor mill going, and he's turning up the temperature on Frank Vogel's hot seat, saying this over the weekend: I expect the Lakers to fire Frank Vogel. I am not advocating for it by any stretch of the imagination. I like Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel has been a top-notch defensive mind in the NBA. I think that he's a champion with the Los Angeles Lakers. He's already delivered that. This is Tinseltown, though. We've got questions about chemistry. We've got questions about commitment and dedication. We damn sure got questions about their defense. If this continues, Frank Vogel, in my opinion, will not be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers come the All-Star break. And it kind of goes back to my original point. With the Lakers being such a porous defensive team, that is Frank Vogel's supposed strength. That is Frank Vogel's calling card. Yet, this is a Lakers team that continues to give up just really mind-numbing defensive sequences. And the Lakers right now, I want to dumb down on this, are old, they're slow, they're not athletic. For Frank Vogel and under him, they're supposed to be a good defensive squad, and they've been one of the most infuriating defensive teams in the NBA up to date. Now, Frank Vogel, let me defend him just a little bit. Throughout his tenure with LA, outside of his first year, which was the bubble season in which the Lakers were victorious, winning their 17th championship as a franchise, he has had to oversee a lot of injuries over time. LeBron James been in and out of the lineup. Anthony Davis has been very brittle, not consistently available. There have been a bevy of other injuries that have happened under his watch. And you have to give him credit for that bubble title. Yes, you had LeBron James still at the elite level that he was playing at. I still think he's one of the best players in the NBA. Anthony Davis was finally able to stay healthy for an entire season. And throughout that bubble stretch, he was able to make some really good adjustments on both ends of the floor, which helped the Lakers hoist the Larry O.B. And that Miami Heat team was actually pretty good. Also, there were all those circumstances of being in the bubble. There were so many challenges for grown men having to be away from their families for such a long period of time and having to compete at the highest level of basketball, and Frank Vogel was able to navigate a lot of those waters. it is very hard to be the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a front office that's always willing to spend. This is a front office that's always willing to pivot off of their current head coach if that means getting the chemistry together and trying to make a run at an NBA championship. And the pressure in Tinseltown is always so great. And I think Frank Vogel is feeling that heat right now. I wouldn't fire him just yet, but we are certainly getting close to that summation. So what should the Lakers do? Type F for fire him, type H for hold up. It's a little bit too early. Sound off. Let me know. I'm going to go back and see what you all come up with. And thanks for watching today's Lakers Report. Subscribe right now.